people on the channel. All 400 of you now. There's 400 of us now. Round of applause. Round of applause. Well, I had all the plans in the world to actually deep dive through the footage that I've been hoarding for the past, I would say like past 6 months actually, and start to either do like a year catch-up vlog or like something that was like, I don't know, some sort of artsy thing that I can put together, edit in a way that was beautiful and was telling a story and all that. But the universe had other plans for me, and those plans came into the form of crashing, both like creatively crashing, spiritually crashing, sick and health wise, wellness crashing, and then my computer crashed. And so it was just like really like all the signs of the universe was like, sit down, Miss Ma'am, Miss Leah, it's gonna be okay. Sit down. And so I followed that. I sat down. My computer still crashed. So as it currently stands, I cannot edit really anything. But I still wanted to come in with an update for, I don't know, like I don't have some sort of end of the year intention setting type of vibe for this channel. I've been re-uploading old stuff. I've been uploading like short little updates or using shorts. Like I've been heavy on TikTok. So if you actually want to know what I'm up to, the most active platform I'm on right now is TikTok. Which is really funny because when it first came out, I feel like I was very intimidated by TikTok and the idea of it. And now I'm like, it's the most low key. It's the most low key platform as an artist that you can have. So discovering that has been actually really fun and nice. That being said, I still have plans for this channel, and I still love the long form opportunity to allow people in on my journey, on what I've been working on, what I hope to continue to develop into the next year. I should not eat while I'm trying to talk. This is the first full official year of me being a full-time creative. The year before, I had left, I would say around like October, my full-time job. And the rest of the year went pretty well. But this is the first year where I can financially look at the breakdown of what I've done this year and how I've done. But it's not just finances, it's just looking at the different types of projects I've been able to do. A major goal this year was for me to get back into being an artist, beyond just a designer within noisemakers or art director, making things for other people. I really wanted this year to me channeling my painter side, my creative side that is for me. And I just feel very proud and a lot of gratitude that not only have I been able to do that, that I've been provided opportunities to express that in different arenas. And I've also been really happy that I've been finding new ways to merge my love for illustration and my own like artwork into my love for design and design identities and branding. Because I've been having a lot of projects that kind of overflow the skills, like where they love the artwork, like I get to like actually create and illustrate, but I'm also still doing some design work in a way that's like pretty unique. And so that's been really powerful to explore this year too, because I think I've hinted on the channel, it's like with the whole noisemakers and pure design stuff. Um, as it has now become my official job in a way, I've found way less joy within it. I've been dragging my feet on updating my website around it. I did basically do a noisemaker brand refresh in terms of like updating the colors, making things look feel more streamlined, making my decks and my invoices and all that stuff, like business side of things, all feel more aligned and streamlined. So one major thing is that I have all these different things going. I have, Leah Rose Jackson as an artist. I have Leah Makes Noise, like illustration, creative shop, and then I also have like Noisemakers, the design company. And I took the time to make a website, my main website. That's typically the first thing that pops up SEO wise. And for years, that was just my art direction portfolio and advertising. It was leahroseart.com. And I refreshed it and updated it with basically a flow of all the different things that I do. So it feels like a controlled chaos, and that was what I was going for because that is what's happening here. It's weird because when I think about this year, I almost feel like there's been like 3 years in this 1 year, 3 different eras in this 1 year. First half of this year for me felt very much so around my fine art. So it started out this year with the exhibition. That was my first solo exhibition at the top of this year. Still very proud of what I was able to accomplish. Then that immediately started to spark other ideas for me. It's like beyond painting, I like the call to make more art film pieces or to make a more experiential, completely immersive experience is strong. Because as I was walking through my gallery space, I was just like, oh, I really wish there was sound. I really wish there was stuff that people could feel and touch. So that's a whole other angle for next year that I'm starting to explore. Another intention of this year was to exhibit as much as possible. So take those same paintings from that solo exhibition and submit them to different things, which I did. I applied for so many submissions of shows and things. I should have a list, like an official list of how many I applied for. And I need to do that anyway for taxes wise, for expenses. But it's fascinating because I do think that I got into an incredible amount of shows. I've been really insecure about that gap on my resume as an artist. Like obviously the gap is in my head. I've been creative. It's just been in the field of advertising and as an art director where I've been really robust there too, and as a designer. But when I looked at my CV in terms of like exhibitions or publications, or it just felt very behind to me. It's like, oh, so I felt very insecure about it, even though it's a stupid insecurity. And so I was like, okay, well, what can you do? Apply for things. It's like, okay, cool. I at least got into like 20 exhibitions. Mind you, most of these are online. So that's another plug. If you're an artist and you're looking to display your work and you're like, well, damn, I can't afford to be shipping my work around the country. A good workaround is just finding online exhibitions. Gas prices affect shipping prices. So I was like, okay, until I get to the point where I know I'm selling pieces for like 10 grand at least, or I'm just going to be very strategic about what shows I'm going to commit to shipping my work to, if that makes sense. I just have to be. That being said, learned a lot, did a lot, moved a lot within the fine art world. And also part of that is now having my studio space, official studio space. And that is exciting. I currently live only 10 minutes away from that space. I don't drive. And so it's a one shot bus ride just Down the block, once the weather gets better, I'm probably gonna buy a new bike so that I could just bike over. That was another reason of us being like, oh, we now have to buy this house. That was a whole other thing that I think I explained, that basically we were told that the owners of this home want to sell it, but they want to sell it to us, so they've been working with us, and we've been trying to get our finances and everything together to be prepared to, at the top of this next year, get started on applying for lenders and buying a house. Oh my god, it's wild. This is the word for next year. I'm getting ahead of myself because this is supposed to be the next part of this conversation, but the word for next year for me is abundant. So um and just being okay with the word abundance. It keeps coming up in like card readings, and just like, when just words jump out at you, or like hearing it in conversation. And for some reason, it's like that's the word for me that's always felt like I think I've always assigned a specifically monetary association to the word abundance, and I think part of it is a monetary thing, because in order to have a wealth of something, I mean, that's not true for everything. Obviously, like, you can have abundance of friends, abundance of social life, but even to that extent, it's like you can't take it far enough without resources. And for me, the abundance is, this year has felt like developing. Like, it's been a developing year. Like, I've been, yes, putting things out, and starting to dip my toe into things, researching, taking classes. But next year, it's like, I just feel this like, oh, next year is the year where it's going to, the efforts of that work is going to start to pour in. I really feel like this next year is the start of a 10-ish year journey for me. And it's going to be the start of things starting to trickle in and elevate me step by step, year by year. And it's not just my intuition that's saying that. During the residency that I went to in Fargo/Moorhead, a woman named Annalie runs it. Wonderful, great human friend. And she's also a human design reader. Human design is a fascinating subject because it combines a bunch of different philosophies from around the world, different personality things from around the world. It combines the I Ching, it combines astrology, it combines the chakras, and like all of these different. When I say combines, that's the wrong way to say it. It's not like it's like all these things at once. It's more like there's probably somebody else who does a better job of explaining what human design is. All I know is that when she gave me my reading, this was the most accurate thing I've ever seen in my life. And from there, I was just like kind of telling all my friends and everything, like, go online and do this calculator. I'm just so curious off of top line, like what your things top line say. And everybody's just like, oh snap! Like, even like just the most general breakdown of your profile, it's probably gonna feel like accurate. And it's not in the same way where, sometimes you look at other stuff and like, yeah, you can say that about anybody, or I feel that with that too. It's like, no, I read my other friends' profiles, I'm like, that is you, or that is specifically you. But you do need someone who's more educated within it to really break down there's different gates, and break down what is your chart read like. One overall arching theme was, I'm part of the 6-2 profile, and I believe that what was it, generator? I need to go back and look at it. But basically, it boils down to, my life is going to be split up into 3 eras. The number 3, when I first heard that, I was immediately like, Mm-hmm. Even with me having the 6'2" profile, I was me like, because the way that it's written is like 6/2. So it looks like 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Well, I guess 2 divided by, no, is it 6 divided by 2? Wow, math. But you get what I'm saying. Like, that in itself evokes 3. And that life path basically is like your life is split into 3 eras. My eras are like this. first first path, it's like you're supposed to be just an explorer, bumbling around, trying new things, kind of being flighty about stuff, like not being committal, trying things, failing at it, trying things and succeeding at it and failing at it, or like having things that were like good at base ideas, that every sign pointed that it should just like take it and skyrocket, but it didn't for some reason. I really feel like it's like almost like a seeking phase, and that's definitely the phase I've been in, where I've been like, who am I? What do I want to do? Blah blah blah. Oh, I'm interested in that. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in that. And it feels and looks and is chaotic, especially to outsiders. Second phase is this phase where I've been down in the mix. I've been exploring everything, joining different groups, doing all this thing, kind of, just being this exploring, flighty person. Second phase, I climb up on top of the rooftop, is how she put it. And I'm now doing a top down exploration. Like, I'm starting to climb up and taking view of the land. What have I learned? Starting to really sleep with that. Another aspect was that the first half, you're feeling more like you would have probably been more likely to describe yourself as an extrovert, which is how I used to feel. Like, if I would say like I'm an ambivert, but if I was pushed, I would say, yeah, I'm more of an extrovert. Like, I do like to have community and have like the right types of people around me. Like, I prefer togetherness and to be out doing a bunch of stuff and like, oh, what's going on over there? Like, oh, what's that event over there? Like, that was a big part of my journey, especially in my mid 20s. But yeah, as that first era of my life up until 30 has started to come to a close, I'm like, I don't feel like doing that no more. I'd rather be at home. I'd rather be at home crafting and making and exploring and like sitting with myself thinking about things. Yeah, I'd rather be up here. And I've been feeling really guilty about that because it happened to coincide with the pandemic where we had to do that anyway. So I've been like, why do I feel way more like a hermit than I ever did before? Like, why do I feel, is it social anxiety? Is it like, what is it? And I'm now realizing, like, no, this was always gonna be my life path, pandemic or not. Pandemic just, if anything, kicked my butt to like really embrace this side of myself right at the time frame where I was supposed to. Because yeah, I really felt like the past year, especially, has been like, the past 2 years, I've been feeling more drawn to be more hermited. But the past year, I finally let go of the guilt that I used and the shame that I would surround it with, because I thought it was just purely social anxiety. When really, this was just going to be the path that I was always going to have, where it's like, okay, cool, I feel like I've explored a lot. Now it's time for me to develop and time for me to begin the craft. Part of this phase is like, yeah, it's like it could be a steady climb up to the rooftop as you're looking. It could be a elevator up where it's like all of a sudden you have a platform. You're still not at like the level that you are destined to potentially reach, but it's a top down type of thing. Like, you're looking at the lay of the land and what you want to do, and you're starting to really, you've already built the base research foundation. Now you're actually getting. And part of that is going to be like a social sacrifice. So, and then the peak, the way she put it is like your career peak, your like the peak of understanding for you, not just career, but like life and everything, likely won't happen until 40. Something about hearing that, I feel like for some people, that's a decade from now. For me, I was just like, whew, okay, pressure off. And it's for a myriad of ways. I realized or myriad of ways. It's for a myriad of reasons. I realized that there's been a lot of times in my like past, like my early 20s and whatever, where I've been like, damn, like I want acknowledgement, but I didn't know what type of acknowledgement I wanted at that point. And I'm very grateful that things never blew up to the point where I wouldn't have been able to handle it. When I look at like a Doja Cat, for instance, we actually have very similar, I don't know her human design charts, but at least in terms of our birth charts, like in astrology wise, very similar. And so I see a lot of myself in her. It's different veins. She has her own different struggles she deals with, especially like identity wise, I can tell. There's a familiarity there, especially creatively. And when I look at her, I'm like, I understand exactly what she, not exactly, but when she had her like moment of being like, I want to quit, but I can't because all these people are depending on me and I'm, signing all these contracts. And then she shaved her head and was just like, I need to like let go of this like aesthetic thing that I have been like, I understood why. Because it was like, Doja to me feels like a person who got famous, way more famous than she ever wanted to or needed to get, and then be way quicker than what she was prepared or ready for. I think she would have been happier with another 5 years of creatively grinding and experimenting and having like good incremental successes versus like going from unknown to internet personality that's not taken seriously to mainstream the pop star that people are talking about as like the next coming. So the thing I've been sending gratitude for has been because I have not blown up for like one specific thing yet. In a way, I have way more freedom creatively to experiment and develop and get things right. And also personally, get personally fortified before the inevitable platform that I really feel like my whole life I've instinctually known. Like I've always instinctually known that like I'm not gonna be a person that's gonna fade into the dust. Like I just with everything I want to make and create and the unique vision that I have, I know that 1 + 1 = 2. I just don't know when. Well, now I have an idea of when actually, and I think I'm going to be way more mentally, spiritually, everything prepared for that to take that reins. So third sphere era of my human design chart is actually the role model phase or the sage phase. I already feel this sometimes. Like Anna was like, do people come to you for advice or whatever? Do people just automatically feel comfortable with you in these ways? I'm like, yeah. And people seek out my creative assistance a lot too. Like, there's never been a point where I've had to like intentionally like do a bunch of cold emailing or be like reaching out to people to be like, hey, do you want to seek my services or anything? I feel a lot of gratitude for that because it's like, I don't even know how to go about that, but then B, it's just like so instinctually just like not who I am in that sense. And I've had a lot of gratitude though in the opposite, like everything, 99.9% of the opportunities that I have and the people I've worked with have reached out to me. The one thing I think of in the past year that I did the applying for, outside of like exhibitions and stuff, because that's stuff you have to apply for. But even with that, I've been asked to do things. But the one thing design wise or clients wise I've applied for was this podcast slash visual thing that was Black Beyond Measure Target with Loudspeakers Network, who Loudspeakers Network is the podcast network of like The Read and Friend Zone. All of these, by the way, I listen to. So like Jade, Kia, and Hey Friend Hey, I listen to all of their podcasts for years. Been listening for years. Yeah. So when they put out a call like, hey, we want to submit for artists. We want, to give an opportunity to Black artists to work with us on this. My friend Safrat emailed me and she was like, yo, did you hear that on the podcast? And I had caught up on that week on the Friend Zone, so I didn't hear it yet. But when I did, apply for it, I got it. Out of like hundreds of people applying to this thing, I got it. Um, and they were lovely to work with. They were like very honestly easy to work with, like very unassuming, like very like trusting of me as a creative. It was a beautiful partnership, and then that led me to working with now with Shameless Maya, um, who again another creative person, YouTuber who I've followed for years. It's wild. It's wild. It's wild. The synergy of things is wild. I feel like I'm talking in circles and stuff. This is going way longer than we were supposed to, but whatever. We here. Anyway, the third phase, like I said, is that sage role model phase where you can really stand in it. That's what things will really pop for you. For me, in my brain, I was like, I heard that and I was like, okay, so by 40, a film I direct could be like the best film of the year or something. I don't know. Like it could win an award or something. Or I don't, not even win an award. It could just, I could make a piece that I'm like incredibly proud of. And all of these journeys, when I think about the things I want to start for next year, I'm like, the biggest excitement for me is being able to provide opportunity for my friends and community and all the other talented people who I've been blessed to know and work with. I'm so excited at the prospect of one day being able to like, not even one day, it's already starting to begin. Like I'm already working with my little sister occasionally on editing things, or with my best friend Safrat on styling, working with my partner, working who is like a musician on soundscapes and things. And yeah, it's an abundance. I have an abundance of, it feels like I have the abundance of resources and ideas. Only thing I don't have abundance of is time, of money, and of help, of assistance. And so that's the abundance I'm really ushering in. And letting go of control in a way, especially when it comes to the funding and money. Like, one goal for next year, find an angel investor or some sort of venture investor. I don't like any of that, by the way. Like, I don't like it. But that being said, that doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing or that I can't find ways to work within that framework that feel more aligned with me. My ideal would be like finding a Black woman angel investor who gets it and who sees that I'm a person with a lot of vision and talent and goes, you know what? I'm just gonna help support you and make that stuff happen for you. Because at the end of the day, that happens for so many people all the time, especially, to be honest, a lot of Nepo babies, a lot of, people with connections. The connections part of things, unfortunately, goes beyond any sort of talent. And the sad thing is, like, you can have all the talent in the world, but if the right people who actually make decisions and make things move and happen don't know about it. So it feels like I've been circling, but apparently I was supposed to be doing that. So I feel like I've been circling those people. Like I am rubbing shoulders with all the right people. I've been reached out to by myriad of movers. I just need to be better poised and ready to take on the next step. So tangibles. Yeah, this year I've been very grateful. Like I've had more ups than downs. And I've had periods. The downs have been like periods where it's like, ooh, is that invoice coming in? Ooh, it's looking a little high. Okay, I guess I gotta pay for that on my credit card until I can pay it off or whatever. Like that's been the push and pull. But I can at least now look at the end of the year and be like, oh, I technically made more money this year than I did the year before, and this has been only solo work. That's an accomplishment. I applied for a short film grant contest, and I got to the finalist round out of hundreds and hundreds of applicants. It was narrowed down to like 25 of us and then 10, I think. And I got to that point, and I very happily did not win that grant because I realized that I would have had to shoot the short film. Like they would announce the winners in end of November. We would have had to be done by Black History Month. That's February. No, not with what I submitted. It was impossible. It would have been not feasible. Instead, I now have the confidence that the idea is good. The writing is decent. I want to keep tweaking it. The writing is decent, and at the very least, I can take a page out of one of my friends slash old podcast homies Sharina's book and make a proof of concept. She is just made a dope proof of concept called Heifers about two Black urban farmers. Dope. Second aspect, loud pigment. So let's go back to early Yaya. Early baby Yaya, before going to college for fine art and painting, before being an art director and advertising and being the graphic designer, before any of this, before I picked up a paintbrush, I used to want to be a fashion designer. That was my only like real gateway. But I would like, look through fashion magazines, try and copy it. That's how I learned how to draw. Like that's how I taught myself how to draw. Elementary through high school, I was convinced that if not an astronaut or an astrophysicist specifically, I was going to be, or a journalist, I was going to be a fashion designer. Artist wasn't even on the radar. Not until high school when I discovered Frida Kahlo. That's when I was like, I want to do this. But in high school, I would design prom dresses for folks. I loved it. I don't know. I love fashion. I love aesthetics. I'm a double Libra. I can't help it. I like nice things. It feels like this idea for loud pigment is like a combination of all these different loves coming together. And I'm very excited about that because it's the one thing I found that I really feel like bridges all of these different skills and things, but into one specific project that I've accumulated over through the years. It combines fine art, it combines illustration design, it combines art direction and directing. Because building a vision for a brand, a clothing brand, needs all those things. Now, my idea is not to build the next major brand in terms of like a Shein or like anything like that, because one major thing that I've been in terms of sourcing, looking into hard and looking into all the different things that come with it, and none of it is going to be perfect, by the way, because it's just impossible for it to be, is sustainability and ethically sourcing and not leaving a ton of waste behind. So everything would be small batch. When I make it, we release it. I also am very, very like, I want it to be size inclusive and not in the way where it's just going up to me. Like, because typically, honestly, I'm the end of the line for a lot, especially like sustainable, like brands that are like, oh, we do everything and then like it's like, okay, yeah, but you only go up to XL. So what y'all trying to say? That like, fat people are inherently unsustainable? Like y'all don't even try to go beyond like a XL. So loud pigment is like, what would clothing meant to stretch and vibe and move in and mold for different people and be comfortable for different people, but also be statement pieces, but also be sourced um, ethically and sustainably look like. So, yeah, next year I'm adding fashion designer to the ever growing list of titles that I have as a creative. And that's exciting. I'm excited for next year, y'all. I'm excited to try and do my best to document this journey. I'm probably gonna let go of the pressure of artfully having beautifully done vlogs every week and all that. Like, that's not realistic, but this is more just sitting and talking to the camera to y'all. So, what are y'all looking forward to in the new year? And also, it's like taking the pressure too off of the idea of a new year. Another thing I've thought about a lot is like, yes, New Year's are a good marker in terms of, but like just in terms of like time frame wise, but um spiritually, I always found like my biggest burst of growth happened actually in the spring, which makes more sense with seasons and everything. So I've really am still thinking about this the first few months of the new year as I'm still in incubation mode, still developing, researching all this, including, actually buying the home I'm currently in. So it's a lot of foundation setting still. And then pick it up in the spring for things to boop, bloom, pop, be out. So yeah, I would love to hear in the comments, what are y'all thinking for the new year? Thank you for watching. This went way longer than I thought it would be. But here we are. All right. Goodbye.